I just wanted to comment on, an interesting idea, right? The idea of being smart, the idea of getting good grades and so on and so forth. And just in general, what does it mean to be smart? And, why do some people struggle? Why do some people do well? Studying and just all of that. I just wanted to talk about that stuff. When it comes to whether or not a person is smart, right? That's a good question to ask, right? We use that word smart to describe people who have good GPAs or who do well in hard classes, smart. But what does it really mean to be smart, right? Because studying for a test and getting a good grade, I don't personally think is anything to really go that crazy over, right? It's a matter of just learning the material and preparing yourself adequately to do well. And it's something that anyone can do, right? I always use the example of AP classes in high school, right? A class like, for example, AP Psychology. A class where basically no one has any prior knowledge of psychology going into it. And yet some people do really well and excel, and yet some people do really poorly, right? Some people get 5s on the exam, some people get a 1. And so the people who do well on those exams, are they just smarter, quote unquote, than those who do poorly? I don't think they are. At the end of the day, we all go into a lot of these classes equally ignorant. We don't know anything about the content. And oftentimes our first time seeing the content is in that class. And yet some people excel and some people don't do well. Studying and the effort you put in will ultimately determine your results, will ultimately determine whether or not you do well. Not necessarily how smart you are. What does it even mean to be smart? I don't think even getting good grades really necessarily makes you smart. Because studying and getting good grades isn't really a hard thing to do. Studying just requires putting in effort to get results. And so it's something that anyone can do, right? Especially for classes where none of us know the material, right? So I don't have an inherent advantage over you, and you don't have an inherent advantage over me. And yet, sometimes people do well and other people do poorly. So I just disagree with this idea that, it's all about how smart you are and, that you can't do anything to prepare or to study. Sometimes people act like when they do poorly on an exam or they do poorly on something, it's because, oh, well, I'm just not smart. Oh, it's just hard for me. I'm not saying things aren't naturally easier for certain people, right? I'm not denying that people have an affinity for things, but at the same time, we also have to take accountability for the work that we do, the work that we put in to get results. If I want to do well on a test, I have to study and prepare. If I want a good physique, I have to go out and exercise. And yet people act like these things aren't in their control. You don't have to be smart to study and do well on an exam. You don't. Now, some things might come more naturally to other people than to you, but who cares? You just have to put in more effort. This is not anyways a competition, right? This is about your improvement, you doing well. And how can you do well? By putting in effort. Sometimes you might have to study more than your peer. That's fine. Don't compare yourself to others when it comes to academics. It's all relative. And there's so many things in general that really you should not really be comparing yourself to. Gym is an excellent example, right? If you're curling, let's say you started off, let's say you've been in the gym for a couple months and you originally were curling 15 pounds, right? Bicep curling, 15-pound dumbbells. And now 5 months in, you're curling 25 pounds or maybe 30 pounds. But then you look at someone else who's maybe curling 50 pounds and you're like, wow, I'm so weak. But you're failing to realize the progress that you yourself made from 15 to 25 pounds, and instead diminishing your progress because of someone else's progress. We do that so often, and social media has encouraged us to do this. We look at where other people are, and we assume that we ought to be where they are. And on top of that, we look at other people and we look at where they are, and we don't even bother to think beyond what we're seeing. We see someone at 20 years old who maybe is a millionaire or whatever, and we don't see beyond other things that may be happening to him, other things that he or she may be going through. We just look at something on the surface as an achievement that someone else has done, and we immediately want it. We have to learn to be satisfied with where we are. Now, bringing this back to what I was talking about originally with academics, the reason why I made this video was because I just don't understand why people pretend like they can't study and get good grades. Sometimes you get screwed over, I'm not gonna lie, right? Sometimes you study for something, get to the tests, completely different. Okay, that's fine, it's out of your control. But studying and putting in effort and getting results is not that crazy, and you don't have to be intelligent to do it. We need to change our mentality when it comes to getting good grades and good performance when it comes to academics. It's not rocket science. You don't have to be a genius from birth. You don't have to have been in Kumon since you were a toddler to do well academically. You just need to study and put in the work. I know someone will come in the comments saying, oh, it's hard for me, or with some excuse. Don't make excuses. Put in the effort, put in the work, and you will get results when it comes to your grades. It's just a matter of studying and putting in effort. You don't need to be smart or intelligent. What does it even mean to be smart or intelligent? Do grades determine how smart and intelligent we are? I don't think so. So don't fall into that trap of thinking that I have to be a genius to do well in hard subjects. Think instead, how much effort do I need to put in to get the results that I want?